Hey guys, you ever been working in your PDM vault as a PDM administrator and wondered how do you do a watermark across your SOLIDWORKS drawings and then have it automatically update as you go through the workflow? Today's Q-tip is for you. All right, so let's jump into this. It's actually controlled pretty easily. All we have to do is set up a variable inside our PDM data card for each file, like a drawing file, and then we would set up a mapped variable so that it will update inside the custom properties of SOLIDWORKS. So if you've got a drawing like this, let's first set up variable so that it will actually show up whenever that property is there. So if you've got a drawing like this, you would just edit the sheet format and add that variable. Let's take a look at how that's done inside PDM. Over here with our data cards, if I were to expand the file cards out and then take a look at my equivaC card, which happens to be the card for my drawings, models, and parts, let's just go ahead and add a watermark of our own. So we're going to add a new variable over here and we'll just drop it right here. And then we want it to go ahead and update all configurations, but let's take a look at the variable mapping inside the variable itself. Right now it's connected to a custom property called Watermark inside drawings, assemblies, and parts. I actually don't want, and several other extensions, I actually don't want it to be updating the rest of those. I only want it to update the solid draw. Let's click OK here. So now it's just going to update only the drawing files. And then we will give it a default value, not for production. That's a default value that it's always going to set. Go ahead and put a label over here for it so that we know exactly what it's for. We've got the variable set up. It's got a default value. Let's go ahead and take a look at the workflow. Inside the workflow, whenever a file enters the workflow, it's going to enter this initial state CAD created. We want it to begin workflow and go ahead and set that. Even though it's got a default value when that drawing gets created, the reason why we set it is in case somebody brings that in and it's got another value, or it's got a value from another project or something along those lines. We just want to take control of that data and go ahead and set it. Let's edit that begin workflow transition. We will then set an action here, set variable, only run for files, SOLIDWRS. And again, not for production. One of the things that we've done in the past as far as this watermark goes is we actually set it to the state name. And so if we put it to the destination state name, that way the state name is actually the watermark. Some companies do it this way, others have special text. It's really a preference. It's up to you guys and how your ISO or your regulatory or your internal drafting procedures are. So go ahead and do that. And then as the file transitions through, we want that watermark delete whenever it goes to release. And so during the release transition, we will erase the watermark. We can't just leave it as a blank. We need to put a space in there. Save that workflow out, and let's go test this in SOLIDWORKS. Inside SOLIDWORKS, we have the ability to go ahead and make changes here to the sheet format. What I'm going to do is modify an existing drawing. It's just a sample drawing, doesn't really mean anything to us. But what I'm going to recommend how you do this is actually put this on the sheet format of the template that you use to make every new drawing. Right-click, edit sheet format. The sheet format is something that's basically, it's like a layout, like a title block that's going to overlay or underlay your drawings. Then we're going to drop in a note. We're just going to place it right here. And we're going to give it a property name. As soon as I press the enter, this is going to disappear because right now we don't have a value set. But as soon as we set a value, the value will show up, and we'll do that for testing. And you'll notice that whenever I entered that last quote mark after watermark, it turned blue, which means it's a linked property. The property is in there and it's disappeared because our watermark actually doesn't have a value. And then go into the custom properties. In the custom properties right now, you'll notice that we don't have anything that shows watermark because that property hasn't been communicated through to the data card on any of our files yet. So we have to put it in here manually the first time, but then every time the file gets updated inside the workflow, that will get reset and taken care of. So we're going to call this one watermark, call this not for production. And this will match our values on the data card. Click OK. Does anybody notice anything about what's going on here? The value didn't show up. So let's take a look. If we have a property called watermark here and it's set to not for production, what could be going wrong here? Let's take a look at the sheet format again. The reason why it wasn't showing up a moment ago is because I had it set to PRP sheet. PRP sheet and PRP are a little bit different. I want to make a little bit of a highlight here, so I did that on purpose. PRP sheet actually reads the property from the model that's referenced in the drawing. If you change it to just PRP, then it picks up whatever the property is on the drawing itself. So it needs to be $PRP: watermark. Now that we have this set, we have the ability to move it around and make it the right size. Let's set it back to 33 and let's change the font. We want this to be a little bit more visible. We want it to be a different color, and we probably want it to be grayish, so to speak. So let's set this to go ahead and go use points, and we're going to set it to 24. That might be a good enough size for us, but I think we need to make it a little bit larger. That's visible. Now, one of the things that we need to do is go ahead and change the color of this thing. We change the color by double-clicking. The properties highlighted, and then we can do whatever modifications we need to here. Let's change this color to gray. And then we need to set it so that this is center justified. I want it to always be in the center. Okay, that is now set. Let's go ahead and close this out. You can see that we have the drawing checked out because it's got the asterisk up top. Let's save it. We use the PDM add-in and check it in, and then actually change state in here so you can watch the watermark disappear off of the drawing. Go ahead and check this in. And then we're going to check in the model as well. You'll notice that the workflow state is currently set on CAD drafting check. Let's go take a look at the workflow and see where that is in the overall workflow. That drawing is sitting in this state right here. The watermark is going to disappear as soon as we go to the release state. One thing that I forgot to do though, whenever it goes back to CAD whip, I want that watermark to show back up. So let's go to new release, let's set an action, and let's go ahead and add the watermark. Save that out. Now that our workflow has been saved, we can then transition this document through the rest of the workflow and then watch the watermark disappear and then reappear as we leave from released and go back to CAD whip. We're currently in the CAD drafting check state. Let's do the change state from the PDM add-in, and we're going to say drafting check complete. Now we're in CAD ready. Let's go ahead and transition this again. We should have one more for release. Released and remove watermark. Although most people wouldn't type that in the notes. I'm doing that just for fun. So as this document transitions into that release state, that watermark is going to disappear off the face of the drawing. And so now you can see that the watermark has disappeared. Let's go ahead and make a new release and send that back through and watch it reappear again, so that we have good control over our drawings and documents that are in our drafting department. Let's go to a new release, which is the transition where we send that back through. And now the watermark has reappeared, so that we're back in the CAD whip state, and then as we transition this through, then we have the ability to control that documentation. I hope today's Q-tip's been helpful for you. Also remember to hit like and subscribe. Keep up with us. We've got a lot of good content coming. Thanks for watching, and believe in the Q.